So today we're going to be taking a look at this 3D printed kit. This is Shanna the She-Devil, or in this version, she's called Shanna Savage Land. This is a 1/4 3D printed kit, and this is actually the next project I'm going to be working on. So today we'll break down all the parts, take a look at how everything fits, what needs to be done as far as prep work goes before I can begin painting. And she has her pros and she has her cons. So let's take a look. So as mentioned, this is a 3D printed kit. This was sculpted by YH Sculpts. And this is a quarter scale. Here's a look at the base. It's got a nice size to it. This is going to be a jungle theme. So this is going to be a big log that's laying down on the ground. It's covered with green moss. We have a little mushroom patch going on over here. And I'll throw up the colored renders so you can get a better look at it. I apologize. Whoever printed this printed it in white. So it's kind of hard to see. The contrast is very blown out. So it might not be showing everything on camera. But I will throw up the color renders. And one of the things about this is, as I mentioned, I did not print this. Somebody, the collector that I'm painting this for, sent it to me. I, for the life of me, can't figure out if this was printed FDM style or resin. It has all the features of like a resin print with the the drainage holes. Like you have a drainage hole right here, and I'll show you more on the other parts. But the material, you hear it's very hollow, and the weight of it is super light. Just feels like, you know, like cheap plastic, but there's nothing wrong with that. I could fill it in. I'm actually going to be using some casting resin to get all that filled in to make it more solid. But here's a look at the leg. Here's another part. So again, we have drainage holes that you would set up for resin printing. But there's a lot of layer lines, and again, it's hard to see because it's printed white. But if I, show it up close, and maybe I could put a picture showing what I'm talking about. It has the traditional FDM, build up layer lines where it kind of like goes around in a circle. So I'm kind of thinking maybe this was printed FDM style. Again, you got another drainage hole in the foot. But I do see some supports on the inside of the model, so I'm not really sure. If anybody's watching this and maybe knows FDM better than me, I'm more of a resin guy. I started straight off with resin printing, so I'm not too familiar with FDM other than it shows those types of layer lines. It's actually not that bad on this print. So anyway, let me show you this in the meantime. Here's a look at her body. So even if it was done in FDM, it's really nicely done because for the most part, she's very smooth. Except for the body. The body has a lot of like rigid lines in it. It's where I could kind of see like the layer lines, how they were built up. It's either that or whoever, if this was printed in resin, whoever printed it maybe had a shift on the Z-axis as it was printing. And it created a lot of lines, but see, there's a really good example of it right here. Under her breast there. I'll throw up a picture to show you what I'm talking about, but to me it looks like somebody printed this not using resin. But like I always say, if you guys ever need anything printed, let me know. I can get stuff printed, very good quality at affordable prices, and you'll have nice smooth results. Unlike this, now I have to go in and try to sand out all of these layer lines, so it creates more work for me, but it's not too bad, so I should be able to get it done. I just ordered a whole bunch of sanding sticks to get into all these little tight areas because now I have to try to sand all of that out without damaging the sculpt. But anyway, here's the torso with her bikini, and she's got the like the saber tooth style necklace, with all the teeth. And then we have, again, this is a raw kit, so it's going to need prep work. We have this part here, which I believe is the back of her bikini. Okay, yeah, that's gonna, see if I can get it to stack. That's just going to sit like that in the back. And again, I'll get her loosely assembled with the rubber band so we can take a better look at that. But back piece to her skirt, loincloth, whatever you want to call it. Then we have a front piece to her loincloth, which is going to clip in, like that. So we'll leave those off for now. And then she has this belt that wraps around her body. And that just sits on top of her legs. So let's get the legs on. I'll leave that on for now. So as far as the fitment goes, here's the other leg. As far as the fitment goes, it's actually really nicely done. I don't really see, especially on the legs, there's no gaps that I need to fill in. So that's nice. I'll be able to paint these separate and paint all this separate and then glue it in once it's painted. But that's basically going to sit on there like that. And then we have the other leg. She's got some nice tall legs here. So she's in a crouched pose. And then we have the other leg that sits like that. And then the belt wraps around her body like that. So for now, let's take that off so I don't drop it. I'm going to leave the belt off just because it's easier to hold. As far as her arms go, this one's definitely going to have to be filled in because there is a big, well, not too big, but there is a seam line right there that needs to be filled. So I'll actually attach this arm before painting. I'll get the cracks, the gap filled in, sanded down. And then when I go to paint, this arm will be attached because there is a seam line that we don't want to have there. So that'll get attached before painting. Now the other arm, because there's a band wrapped around her bicep, that's just some silly putty I was using to hold it together. I could probably leave this arm off and paint this separate. It's really not in the way of anything, so maybe I will attach it. I don't know. But basically that arm attaches right there. Again, this will all get glued in. Like so. And then we have her portrait. Here's a look at her portrait. She's got a really nice, pretty face. Nice details with the hair strands. Again, I don't know if it shows up too good on camera because it's printed in white. But once this all gets primed, it'll look a lot better. And I'll do a video, like featuring how I'm painting it along the way, the process of it. So it's really nice looking. And then the way she attaches to the body, she kind of slides in. There's a little crevice here. And then it just slides in from behind and then snaps forward into place like that. So now there is a slight seam line right before the necklace. I wish they would have extended that a little bit further because that would have hid the seam line. I'd like to paint the portrait by itself. It'll make it a lot easier, especially trying to get behind underneath the hair and when I need to paint the body. So I think what I'm going to try to do is fill in this gap, the seam line around her neck. Do what I said. I'll extend it up until the necklace. This way it hides the layer line. So I'll basically extend the sculpt of her neck down a little bit more around the necklace. And then I can paint the portrait separate. And then I should be able to key it right on and be able to hide the seam line right underneath the necklace like that. But for the most part, this locks in place really nicely. Stays just like that. We're probably going to attach the head as well, get it glued into place. I was thinking about maybe adding a magnet. I'll see. If I am able to extend it and hide that seam line, maybe we could do a magnet. But the way it clicks on, like if you see, like I could even hold her and the body's not falling out. It doesn't just like click on easily, like on and off, like up and down. You kind of have to like come in at an angle and then push it in. So there might be a little bit of paint rub. So I might have to just glue it into place and, you know, ship it like this, and then just make sure it's packaged good, that the hair doesn't break, because these are pretty fragile. All right. And then also she has a spear in the back of her hand. So as far as fitment goes, everything fit really nicely with the legs and the arms and the portrait. The one issue I did have with this kit is the spear. So this one actually is like looks like more of like a machete inside of like a sheath. So this one just clips onto the side of her leg. And again, I'll try to show some pictures of the color render so you can see where everything's going. That one's fine. That one I'm going to have to create some type of way for it to attach to her leg. But this one, so the spear was printed in 2 different parts. And they don't really line up correctly too well or stay. So what I'm probably going to do is what I did with when I printed my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Donatello staff. I'll drill into this, hollow it all out, and I'll insert a metal rod, maybe like down to here. So we'll have a nice long metal rod. And then the same thing, I'll have to hollow this out a little bit and then just have it held into place with a metal rod. This way it's nice and strong and it doesn't go anywhere. But the issue I'm having is, so this end kind of tapers off and gets skinnier, and then this end gets a little bit fatter. The way this is supposed to go into her hand is like this, but it doesn't fit through her the hole in her hand or her fingers, nor does this side. So I'm probably going to have to see if I can maybe heat up her hand and bend her fingers out a little bit so I can get this in, or I'm going to have to sand this down and get it a little bit smaller so I can fit it through her hand. Or I'm just going to have to try to come up with another concept to where I can make these 2 parts attached together. I'm thinking about maybe adding some type of magnet or extension in between the middle part, and then this will just magnetize or key in to the metal rod. And then the same thing on this side, have it key in onto like a metal rod, like do some type of attachment, like she's already holding a handle. I'll sculpt a handle into the hand. And then these 2 pieces can just, it'll be like maybe like ½ inch longer like this. So instead of having these to have to like slide through her hand and get a paint rub, they'll sit more like that and slide into an attachment on her hand. So that's the only issue I'm faced with right now, is getting this spear to fit into her hand. And as mentioned, I have a lot of different layer lines that I'm going to have to sand out. Nothing too terrible, but still needs to get done if we're going to have a nice smooth print. She's basically half naked. She's just wearing a bikini. So this whole entire piece is, the paint's going to be all focused on her skin. So I got to make sure the skin looks perfect on this. Otherwise, it's not going to look good in the end result. So we got to get her skin looking good. So let me get her quickly assembled, loosely held into place with the rubber bands, and I'll give you a 3D, 360 overview. So she's loosely held back together with the rubber bands. Hopefully she stays. So it's always a challenge trying to get everything to stick with just using rubber bands. So I apologize about that. This arm might keep popping out because it's just held on by silly putty. So I might have to keep pushing that back in or just remove it for the time being. One thing I forgot to cover is her body does not include a key to be keyed into the base. I'm actually just going to remove the arm for now because I have a feeling it's just going to keep popping on and off. Okay, so her body, like I mentioned, doesn't have a key for her to key into the base anywhere. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to add a key under this knee and then possibly one under this foot, or maybe just a magnet under this foot. But I'm definitely going to probably put the key right where that knee makes contact onto this tree trunk here. I think that would be a good point. And then she does have the indentations on the base to where her feet go, so everything needs to line up correctly when I go to key this in. So not a big deal, but something that'll need to be done. And then also, like as I mentioned, one of the cons is this is super lightweight. So I'm gonna drill into the base. I'm gonna use some casting resin. Switch it around, kind of do like a roto cast with some it's a quick drying resin. It dries in about 2 minutes. So I'll switch it around, thicken up these thicken up the walls of the cast, or maybe I'll just make the base solid. We'll see how much resin I go through. But we're definitely going to add weight to this, and then I'm definitely going to add weight to her legs, especially because like it's hollow. I need to add a key into the knee. So I need something to drill into the leg, and I can't do that if it's hollow. So I'll drill into the leg up top where the holes were, where it attaches, where it pegs into her body. We'll dump some casting resin in there as well. Fill this up all nice and solid. I'll do that to both legs just to proportionally give her some nice weight so that she's weighted down on the base and that she's not going to fly off and go anywhere, because like I said, she is super light. Here's a look at the back of her since we didn't see that yet. So yeah, definitely got to be careful with the hair strands. It looks really cool, but they're definitely going to be fragile. Being that she is so lightweight, the pieces are pretty sturdy because it's such a light material. So that's the only good thing about it being lightweight right now, but it's definitely a cool piece. For now, I have the spear backwards. It does fit backwards into her hand. But according to the 3D, colored renders, it's not supposed to go in this direction. The spearhead is supposed to be in the opposite direction, but that would save me a lot of time because it fits on her hand in that direction. But it's supposed to be like this and this way, and then this handle is supposed to be up here. But I'll see what I could do. I think I can heat up her hand so that we can get the other end through. But I'll come up with some type of plan, as mentioned earlier. But for the most part, other than the layer lines, she's going to need a lot of sanding. As far as paint goes, like I said, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to keep the legs separate. So I'll paint the legs separate. I'll probably keep this arm off and paint this separate. And then I'll try to do what I said with the portrait and try to extend the sculpt a little bit down further into the necklace. Looks like I might have already broken off one of the teeth there, so I'll have to resculpt the tooth. Again, it's 3D printing, it happens, stuff breaks. But for the most part, this should be somewhat of a clean paint job, getting it all done. Like I said, she's just mostly skin, and then she has, a very small bikini. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to paint, so stay tuned to the channel. And we can go over the process of how to paint skin tones. And probably maybe do a video on making pieces more solid using casting resin. I do have another video on that as well. I just never edited it, but maybe we'll do it on this one since this is a bigger piece that needs a lot of resin to go on the inside of it. But yeah, this This is going to be a fun project. This is actually the one I'm going to be working on next. In the previous video that I did, Beast, he's actually my project after this one. So she's the next current project that I'll be painting next, and then after her will be Beast from X-Men. So we got 2 X-Men characters. Again, this is Shanna the She-Devil, Savage Land. She was one in a part of 3 characters in the series. They also did a Savage Land Rogue, and they did a Savage Land Storm. I'll throw up pictures to show you what that looks like, but it's a really cool set. And again, she's quarter scale. So stay tuned to the channel, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll keep you updated on the progress, either on YouTube or definitely Instagram. Take care.